Dear listeners, there's this moment that happens when everything you have planned just stops. It happens, right? I mean, in most of our life, it happens. And you are about to record a conversation. You have prepared your questions, you have kind of cleared your afternoon, and then your phone rings. Your son broke his finger. You are in the hospital. And suddenly, the podcast, the schedule, the whole performance of keeping it together doesn't matter at all. What matters is showing up for what's real, that moment, that choice to pause, to reschedule, to let someone know that life comes first. It's not a disruption. I'd say it's actually the most human thing to do. Yeah. So, dear listeners, I'm your host, Avik, and you are listening to Mind Meets Machine, the podcast where we slow down enough to notice what's happening beneath the surface of our days. And today I'm speaking with a very lovely guest with us. Please welcome Ingeborg Mooiweer. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Amazing, amazing. So, dear listeners, like before we get into the discussion, I'll quickly love to introduce you with Ingeborg. So, dear listeners, what it means to reschedule with compassion when life happens, right? So, this is something which we'll get to definitely learn from her, and also, obviously, rescheduling with compassion when life happens. This is. I believe most of us have been into those situations, but never thought like this way, right? So today is the great opportunity to learn from her and pick up those moments from our daily life where somehow we just pass those moments, but it is very grateful when we learn more about it. So let's get started. So I definitely like to ask you about like when something urgent pulls us away from our plans, like a family emergency or an unexpected crisis. We often feel this wave of guilt or anxiety about letting others down. So, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about rescheduling our changing plans when life demands it?
I would think, or what I heard as well from my clients, is that they make it a lot bigger in their heads, like they
Mhm.
let someone down. And obviously, in a sense, they might do that a bit because they need to reschedule, they've planned accordingly, and then they're sort of let down, quote unquote, let down by their guest or by their colleague or whatever. But usually, what I find is that in the person who is rescheduling, they make it much bigger in their head because something happens and they're emotional and things like that. And they think, oh, and then I have to let down such and such. Well, as for the other person, they just usually continue with their day. They think, okay, oh, I can do something else. That's fine. We reschedule. It's fine. They got 100 other things to do. It's not that big of a deal. And the thing is, it says something that's more my line of work, but it says something about a person when you feel guilty about choosing yourself, because that's basically what you do in that moment. You choose because what you said, a hospital, things like that. And that's needed because that's life as well. It's not
Yes.
just work or just family. It
Mhm.
could be both, or it should be both, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So if someone is sitting with that guilt right now, maybe they have had to cancel something important, then what would you want them to understand about what rescheduling actually communicates to the other person?
That they realizing where their priorities are. And it's perfectly healthy to choose something, an emergency in your personal life, because
Mhm.
the thing is, what happens if you won't reschedule and you still go to that meeting, you're only half there. Your mind is elsewhere. You can't really communicate properly. You're anxious, whatever. You're not there. Really, it's better to reschedule and be 100% there the next time than sort of half. Yeah, I mean, your mind is
Yeah,
elsewhere, and you should have your priorities right. And the
exactly.
thing is, I find that the older you become, most often people start realizing that's where the priorities lie. Big, a good relationship at home, a good family life, things like that. That's a foundation, and you can do your work better if you focus on that. So, yeah, what I said earlier, balance. It should be both. And in some instances, you just have to drop everything and just be
Mhm.
there at home.
That's interesting. Yeah. And definitely, I think that we forget that people worth keeping in our lives are the ones who understand that showing up for what matters most is not the flakiness, it's integrity. So when you say that life comes first, you are not breaking the trust. You are actually modeling what trust looks like in real time. So that's why I feel.
Yeah,
And
and
yeah,
yeah, and you
please.
know what? It's showing people as well. It's giving you're giving them permission to do
Mhm.
the same actually.
Right.
If you walk on that path, then you show other people like, okay, but it's normal to go home when something happens at home. Not a small thing, but real, proper things. And that you should be at home. And that's what life is about as well. We're not robots. You're not a machine. You got to continue. We're emotional beings. That's the whole thing. We're not rational at all. That's what we think, but we're not. So sometimes emotions take over, and it's best to give in, and take care of the things you should take care of, and then come back refreshed and be there really present to do your work.
Exactly true. And also like I mean, there's often this deeper underneath our resistance, a deeper pattern that I mean to which is related to the rescheduling or asking for flexibility. So and some of us were raised to believe that reliability means never changing course or that being dependable means ignoring our own needs. So where do you think this pressure to kind of stick to plans no matter what really comes from is
I would say that sounds like survival
okay.
mechanisms. Something which happened in your childhood, usually
Mhm.
between 0 and 7, something you didn't get. And then children start developing survival mechanisms.
Is it related to something the childhood trauma or what?
Well, it actually is. Yeah, maybe the word trauma is really deep and big, and people get like, "Oh, but I don't have trauma." But trauma is a term in the therapy world. It's just how you call it, and it's one of the survival mechanisms or survival codes. You can call it as well. Is like the performer. So you always have to perform. You're there, the hyperachiever, which is part of it, which is one of the archetypes which falls under the performer. That's something you just said. That's the
Exactly.
person who thinks I always have to be there. They depend on me. If I don't do it, then whatever happens. And the thing behind it is that people perform because they want to get something back, mostly unconsciously. They're not thinking, oh, I'm going to do this and then I get back. No, it's usually not like that. It's unconsciously. So they get something in return. And that
Exactly.
feels good. So they do it again. So mostly we are like beings with all these, it's called patterns as well. We are a bundle of patterns, basically. That's what we are as people. And this drives us. And it could be good, but sometimes it's not. It works against you after a while.
Exactly. And obviously, it's really interesting, like how we can be so understanding when someone else needs to reschedule. But when it is us, we treat it like a character flaw. Maybe the work is learning to extend to ourselves the same grace we did offer a friend without, hesitation. So, yeah. And if we talk about our daily life, everyday life, this tension shows up. I mean, what to say? It's all the time, right? When a work meeting conflicts with a children's school schedule or the school event schedule, a social commitment which gets overlapped with a moment that when you really just need the rest. So how does this pattern of overcommitting or ignoring our real priorities reveal itself in the small and ordinary day of life?
Well, then usually what you see is that one of these survival coaches, so one is the performer and one is the harmonizer. That's the people pleaser. That's someone who finds it very difficult to say no. So they usually say yes to all these commitments, even if they can't make it. And they just think, but I'll, work a bit harder and I'll just manage to do this and do that. And maybe I can skip this a bit and then do that. It's hard to say no for them because they don't want to let people down. That's all stemming from childhood as well. all these like the survival codes and the archetypes is something which started and developed unconsciously again in childhood just to survive. Hence the name survival mechanism. You need to do that to be safe, emotionally safe. That's the whole foundation underneath all of this. Children need to be safe. That's how they can grow up. They need something for that, and sometimes that's lacking. Sometimes emotional safety, sometimes it's love, and then you develop something because you need to survive. That's the whole thing. And yeah, it's part of your character as well, which one you sort of choose, which one fits you best, which one
Exactly.
gets you something. That's it. It's a very smart way actually of children in doing that way. And it's really good until it's not. That's until it works against you.
So, what did you tell yourself in those moments when you notice that you have overcommitted again, or when the guilt feels louder than your clarity?
Well, the thing is, what you actually should do is change that foundation. Because the people pleaser in itself, it's nice if you do things for other people, but if you overextend yourself all the time, then you worn yourself out. And just saying something to yourself is a sort of trick that's well, it works maybe a little bit, but when the pressure is on, you forget it because it's not a habit. It's not automatic. You
Mm,
need to get a new neural pathway in your mind. You've got this road here and then you say yes all the time. And then you have to make a new one where you say yes sometimes and no a lot. But that needs practice and doing and repeating. That's how the mind works. You need to repeat things over and over again. And then that's the new road
exactly.
in a simple way, explained in a simple way. But that's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the practice is not about getting it perfect. It's all about noticing, recalibrating, and
Yeah,
kind of remembering
yeah,
that every time you choose what's real over what's expected, you are teaching yourself that your life, your presence, your attention, it all matters. And that lesson doesn't fade just because you stumble. So
yeah.
yeah.
And you can always start over again. If one day you are set too many yeses in your mind, then the next day you can start over again. And there's always a
Exactly.
new moment, and even in a few seconds, you can start over again. Okay, next time someone asks me something, I will say no. And if you do, that's good. Then you work
Great.
on yourself and then repeat that like baby steps all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So if you have to give one advice to the listeners today, what will you?
Well, I've got plenty of advice, but regarding what? Regarding what?
I mean, in general, if you have to say on rescheduling or from daily life, if you have to say.
Well, I would say become aware of your own demons, if I may say so. And if usually they don't help you, but seek help, do something about it, try baby steps, what we just talked about. Try it with like someone who is emotionally safe for you and not a real challenge, but something small in a shop or something. And they say, "Oh, is it okay if I put some more in it?" And you would say, "No, that's not okay. I just want 2 lemons and no, not 3." Things like that. When it's very easy in the supermarket, try it over there. It works, and keep on doing that. And make sure that you are compassionate with yourself. Every
Yeah,
step you take is one, and that's an accomplishment.
exactly.
But a lot of people are very critical of themselves, and that's part of the whole thing we talked about earlier as well, that you can change as well. But these things are very simple. In the supermarket, in the shop, at the bus station, whatever, things which sort of easy, and just, try to say no. If you overextend and then you think you don't want to go to the commitment, send an email, give them a call, say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it." And
Exactly.
then deal with the guilt, obviously, but you have to start somewhere to make changes. It's not enough. The inside in your head is not going to change it. That's the whole thing. You need
Yeah,
them, obviously. You need to see the situation as it is, but you need a practice. You need to do something. So that will be my advice for anything you want to change. Make small steps, and every step is good.
Exactly. Every step is good. And that's really amazing. And if listeners wants to connect with you, how they can connect?
They can find me via LinkedIn if they have LinkedIn in my full name, Ingeborg Mooiweer. Or they can find my website, metamindbreakthrough.com, and they can find me there. They can find a pattern scan as well if they're really interested in what we talked about, the codes and the archetypes. It's for free. They can do that if they want to. And that gives some insights and things which they can do about. So that might be a good first step as well.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links, details, everything into the show notes for easy reference. And I'll just say the most honest thing that you can say sometimes is not right now. Let's find another time. Right. So, thank you so much, Ingeborg. So, thank you for this conversation. It's really different, really connecting with our daily life, which I
Yeah.
really feel. And I mean, what stays with me from this conversation is that rescheduling is not a failure of commitment. It is kind of recalibration towards what is true. So life does not wait for our, I mean, carefully organized calendars. And the people who matter, the ones building something real with us, they don't need our perfection. They need our
Yeah.
presence when it counts, right? So, yeah, I mean, so the next time, dear listeners, you find yourself in the hospital with your son, touch wood, nothing happens like this with any one of you. Everyone stay safe, always stay happy in your life. But still, I'm just for an example, I'm just sharing like if this kind of situation happens with you or facing any moment that asks you to let go of the plan and show up for what is real, remember that choosing life over performance is not a disruption. It is the whole point. So with this is your host Arik, and this is Mind Meets Machine. See you in the next one. Thank you.